Hello, angel babies. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Trisha, and this is Trisha's Temple. Thanks for being here. If you have been feeling like there is a relationship that is kind of stalking you, a relationship from your past that keeps coming back up in your energy, and you need closure, but it's also a relationship that you couldn't go back and actually receive closure from that person because they wouldn't be able to take accountability for the things that happened on their side. And even if you were to apologize for the things that you would want to apologize for, or just have like an open, honest conversation, it wouldn't really get you anywhere. Then this reading is for you. This reading is about relationships that, for one reason or another, end because the dynamics just weren't working. And we don't have to put like labels on them. Maybe they were really toxic, maybe they were narcissistic or whatever, but the point is that it didn't work out. It was an unhealthy situation. So I want to look at, first of all, like, what kind of relationship was this for you? Like, was it a friendship? Was it a family relationship? Was it a romantic relationship? And then also, why was it so meaningful to you? I'm using the Solitary Witch Oracle. And these cards are gigantic, but also very beautiful. Okay. We have the releasement. Well, very apropos. Number 29. That number is standing out to me. Maybe that is an age. Or just significant to you in some way. Let's read what it says. The releasement. Mabon is rising, and the change is upon her. She shivers as first one leaf, then another falls. Over the last cycle, she has seen the leaves change. The air scent is filled with the turning, and the trees feel like they are drawing deep into themselves so as to make it through the hard times of cold. She knows, too, that when Mabon falls, the energy that rises will ask her to descend into her own darkness. It will ask her to strengthen herself, to make sure she is well physically and mentally, and to ready herself for the change. As the darkness grows and lengthens, there will be changes, even separations. You too, dear witch, are being asked to be more responsible, serious, earnest, and honest with yourselves. Whether it is the autumnal equinox or any other time when this card comes, we are asked to become more independent, to think for ourselves, and be of help to those who are vulnerable. These are days of complexity, and this is a time of balance before the dark consumes the light once again. There is serious consideration here, so contemplate what it is that needs to be released, to be taken by the wind, and for you to no longer attempt to have control over. The turning of the wheel of life has come, and it cannot be halted. We can only turn to meaning, dedication, energy, independence, intelligence, practicality, study, qualification, self-improvement, higher standards, making peace, justice, airing grievances, and being sure of where one stands with others. Reversed, avoiding decisions, hesitating to let go of what must change, working too hard to keep things just as they are, in denial of the need to consider a new time, refusing to let the old fall away, fear of a void opening up, a resistance to clearing and making space. So I think that this relationship was one of you being the type to be hyper independent and attracting people who might be more on the codependent side. That you have maybe like a tendency to be a bit of a martyr, a bit of a like pour yourself into the people around you, even if they aren't pouring back into you. You might have this gift for seeing past the more toxic or unhealthy behaviors of people around you. It's like you see their soul, you see their childlike innocence, you see the trauma that they've endured, and because of that, it's like, oh, I understand why they're doing these things, like, and you would maybe justify their behaviors or give them so many opportunities to hurt you over and over again. And I think that this relationship was one where you sacrificed a lot of your own needs, your own wants, your own preferences, just the little things, like maybe even movies that you liked to watch or where you wanted to go out to eat, how you preferred to do your hair or get dressed because of the way that that person demanded that things be done. And this can look so many different ways. Those are just some examples, but it comes down to this person kind of had this sense of familial soul attachment to you, like very, very closely bonded to you, and you felt a sense of loyalty, a sense of, I need to make sure that they are okay. And you did that like at the detriment of your own well-being, at your own it's like little by little the voice inside of you that was like, this is what I love, this is what I care about, this is who I am, perhaps had to shrink. Let's look a little bit more closely at why that was so meaningful. Why was this relationship so meaningful to you? Was she once a Selkie? Just looking at this card with the imagery of like looking through the window and the water and this like cup of tea here that's brewed like warm heat and the candle. It's giving like liminal energy and like deep contemplation. Let's see what it says in here. Number 16. Something about these numbers is making me think of ages. So there could be multiple relationships that have been coming up for you recently. And kind of like maybe you're drawing connections and patterns and seeing how they're tied together, how you have related to people from your past and how that's shifting for you. Once she was a Selkie, are there times when she gazes out at the sea and she feels a strange pull deep, deep in her belly? She longs to stand and walk into the water until she swims and swims and swims far away. But she knows not to where, nor even why she has these feelings. What she does know is that she has memories and dreams of swimming deep within the sea with her sisters, of hunting the fish as they rose towards the light of the full moon on the surface. She knows such freedom and such fluidity that it seems strange to her when she wakens that she must breathe amidst the world of air. It feels heavy and unfamiliar. She wonders at times when she sees the heads of the seals rise above the surface of the waters, so welcoming, as if they speak with her and share with her a secret. She will soon go to them and join their dance upon the shore, and she will know the freedoms of the magic. She stays in her human form, but they send her the dreams, and in them she knows she can remain herself, but without ownership by any other. Ooh, this is like making me emotional. And like right when I looked up, I just saw 1234. She has her home, she has her power, she has her wisdom. The Selkies have finally made her message known. Never relinquish your freedom. Meaning, a memory of utter bliss, dreams of freedom, complete unto herself, satisfied to be without allegiance. One's own truth is foremost. Reversed, always wanting to belong and never feeling like you do, needing relationships or groups to validate identity, refusing to listen to the secrets of your magical heart, a need for freedom, a desire to return to the Selkie. This is reminding me of a book called The Woman Who Runs with the Wolves, and it's like all about returning to the wild woman within you. And it talks about how we all have this wild woman archetype within us that is this deep feminine urge. And I believe that this relates to everybody, no matter your gender or how you identify, that craves the wildness. It craves to connect to the earth and explore, to dance naked under the moon, to climb trees and collect rocks and seashells and things along the shore, to lie under the trees and be absorbed back into the earth. I think that this relationship, why it was so meaningful, was that it was kind of this pivotal moment for you. Whether you realized it immediately at the time or not, probably not right when you started the relationship, of course, but I mean, maybe you did. That it woke something up in you. It woke up a part of you that started to remember that wild part of you and maybe started creating more of that tension within you. And that's part of why it was so confusing, because you were attaching that wildness, that ferocity, that fire, that passion to that person instead of realizing that it belonged to you, that it was your passion, your fire, your hunger for life that had always lived within you, and that person was just illuminating it to you, reflecting it back to you, showing you that you were filled with love and light and beauty all along, and that you didn't need to be around them. In fact, in many ways, they were draining that life force from you, especially if it was a very toxic relationship where you were kind of getting that like sometimes the highs were so high and it was so good and you really connected and they seemed to be really valuing you and appreciating you, and then it was like the intense devaluation stages. I think that part of what was so meaningful about it was you reconnecting to that part of yourself and realizing that it doesn't belong to them. Okay. What feelings keep resurfacing when you are thinking about this person now in retrospect? Let's get some of these tarot. Why are they still coming up for you? I did a video a little while back that was something about why is this person still on your mind? Why can't you get them off your mind? And after, immediately after I turned off the video, I still had so many questions, where I started having a bunch more questions popping into my mind. And that's part of why I decided to do this video. And I originally had the thought to direct this video at the person who had hurt you, and kind of put them in the hot seat, almost like those videos that you'll see if you spend much time in the tarot community, where it's if your divine counterpart, if your true love, if your soulmate were to receive a reading about you, so they're receiving the reading rather than you. So I thought that would be an interesting perspective, but the more I thought about that, I was like, I don't really know if I want to sit in that energy. And I think that is something that might be coming up for you right now, is I don't love sitting in this energy. I don't want this person still draining my life force. I don't want to be I don't want to be so connected to them anymore. So why are you feeling their energy popping up? Four of Swords. I think that you fought a good fight, that you put a lot of energy, you invested a lot into this connection. And it's kind of like that sunk cost fallacy, where when you put a lot into something, like let's say that you were to like work really hard on a project, and then you're like starting to get towards the end of it, and then you're starting to realize like this isn't actually like turning out the way that I hoped it would, or it's not going to like yield the results that I was expecting, and like should I just like finish it or not? And maybe leaving this relationship, there are some things that are coming up for you around like, wow, like I really invested a lot into that. I really gave a lot to this person. Or even like some moments of nostalgia, like we had some good moments, and kind of like the nostalgia doesn't always tell the full story, and it can make things seem like they were better than they really were, especially in moments when you are feeling low, or like things are not as great as you were hoping that they would be on the outside. Maybe it's harder to pick up the pieces. Maybe it's just a Wednesday and you are at a rough point in your cycle, or somebody was really rude at work, or just like life is getting you down. And it's also making me think of like that there are certain times seasonally. I mean, Valentine's wasn't too long ago. Things like that, things like other holidays, birthdays, moments that our body remembers, that kind of pull you back into the energy. It will be like the anniversary of when you packed up and left, or it will be the anniversary of when you started dating, or became friends. And all of those little things can like live in your body, especially when you're experiencing a winter in other ways. Things are more challenging in your life, and it's harder to honestly, even in the good moments. Sometimes those happy moments will almost make you more nostalgic. Okay. What part of you still wants to be acknowledged or understood by this connection, by this person? Whoa, okay, got a couple. We have the Two of Swords and we have the Nine of Wands. And the first thing that came up when I saw this was kind of that feeling that it wasn't an easy decision for you to just leave, that you didn't make that lightly. The first example that I'm thinking of is related to my own life. So I grew up in a highly religious community, and a lot of the commentary around like people who leave is, oh, like they're just doing it because almost like they're giving up, or they just want life to be easier for them in by like, oh, they want to drink coffee, they want to dress immodestly, they want to have sex, they want to like live of the world. And that it isn't easy to make the decision to let go of something that is so foundational to your existence, to your life, to who you believe and see yourself as a human being. And when people take that so lightly, or treat you as if you didn't take it seriously, it can be very, very hard. And I think that this relationship could have felt very similarly, in that it was very important to you. It was foundational to your development, to how you saw yourself, to like that things about your life were woven together as two people. Like even if it was a friendship, even if it was a family relationship, I mean, especially if it was a family relationship, it's hard to walk away from anybody that you have developed a relationship with. I mean, hell, even people that I'm like just kind of getting acquainted with and we've had a few conversations with, I feel oddly like I want to know how things play out for them. I mean, we get invested in people that we don't even know on the internet. So it makes sense to me that it wasn't an easy decision. And I think that that's something that you could give yourself a little bit more credit for. And that if other people can't, I'm saying I'm sorry for you. I'm saying that you deserve more credit for the challenge, the pain, the deliberation, and how you probably still go back and forth about, was I in the wrong? What more could I have done? How, like, if this one thing would have been different, could we still have, like, made it work? Because I don't think that there's anybody who enters into a relationship of any kind thinking, yeah, I hope this ends soon. Because painfuls are ending. Endings are painful. Painfuls are ending, yeah. And then this 9 of Wands. This is making me think of the energy investment, which is somewhat similar to this and this, honestly. It's giving burnout. And there may have been things that you said or did, or something that you like didn't handle in the most eloquent or generous or gracious way. And I think that it's okay for you to forgive yourself for that. And take a little step back and consider, if you were looking at this situation as if you were your child or your best friend or somebody that you love dearly, would you be able to see the ways that you offered love, showed up again and again for this person and for yourself, and can you allow that to be enough? Can you allow it to be like, the hindsight is 2020, you didn't know what you didn't know. And stop beating yourself up. What are you still making sense of about this relationship? What still confuses you about this relationship? What are you still making sense of? Page of Wands. Let's see what the Page of Wands says in this book. You feel fresh, cheerful, childlike, and full of energy. You are having bright ideas and new, exciting plans. You are being creative, free-thinking, and fearless. You are finding your passion, making discoveries, investments, or advancements in life. Just be careful not to rush into things without considering the consequences. Reverse, you may feel unmotivated, lethargic, uninspired. You may fail to launch a project, have setbacks, fail to commit, don't find your passion, or have self-limiting beliefs. Inner child issues can come to the surface. Think about what is holding you back. Focus on your spiritual path to gain understanding. Nothing is permanent, and this phase too shall pass. Okay, yeah, so when I first pulled it, I was thinking, like, why was there passion in this relationship was the first question. And, like, why were you drawn to this person? That's something that you might still be hung up on. And also, it's almost like that question is haunting you because you're afraid of it happening again. Like, oh, if I was drawn to that person, and if I can figure out why I was drawn to this person and solve that riddle, solve that problem, then maybe I can make sure that it doesn't happen again in the future. And I think that that is a very valid fear or like train of thought. Be like, oh, well, like if I was drawn to them, then maybe I'm going to be drawn to more people like that, especially if, like we were talking about before, you have been drawn to people similar in the past. So let's look at why you may have been drawn to this person. How to kind of ease that worry a little bit. Meet that fear. The Three of Wands. The Three of Wands, it's making me think that you have a fear of where the future is taking you, like kind of like what we were saying with this card. And that when you are going towards something like a new relationship or a career opportunity, a passion project, whatever it might be, you might have some hesitancy or a lack of belief in yourself, a lack of confidence that you can do it. But I think that this relationship shifted something in you. Like we were saying with this first card, this relationship woke up that fire in you again. It reminded you of what you are capable of. The fact that you left that relationship is a sign that things are changing, is a sign that you are in a different place than you've ever been. And you have more awareness, more perspective and connection to yourself than you have had in a long time. And that the next chapter, season of your life you're entering with more alignment rather than feeling like you need to prove yourself to somebody to be deserving of love, or choosing a relationship based on like old patterning from family ties, from old narratives and belief systems. I think a lot of those illusions have been broken for you, and this next season looks different because you are choosing differently. And even if somebody were to come into your life, because it's not to say that you won't attract people like that, because I think that you will attract damn near everybody. You will attract a lot of people. You are a magnetic person. But you will also have the discernment, the awareness to be like, yeah, no, this doesn't feel so good. This doesn't feel aligned with me. And I don't have to justify why. I don't have to wait around for it to get bad. I don't have to explain myself. I can just say no. That relationships that are meant for you will feel like that warmth and sunshine and openness. I'm hearing a song from my religious upbringing. It's like something shining brightly before you. I can hear it, but like the words are all jumbled. So maybe there is a feeling like you're close to more clarity about the type of relationship that you're wanting to call in, if you even want another relationship. Maybe you're like, you know what? I don't want any relationship right now. I'm good with the connection that I'm building with myself. And I think that's awesome. Okay. What have you already learned and integrated from this relationship? Wow. Okay, that was fast. King of Pentacles. Yeah, you did. You have integrated a greater sense of comeuppance. What? I don't know exactly what that means, but just like standing on business. It's like, I'm said what I mean and I mean what I say, and this is the foundation that I stand on, which is interesting because some of that is also King of Swords energy, just swords energy in general. So I think that you have been integrating a lot of lessons around feeling more secure in your identity, believing in like being able to hold yourself in the present moment, and how that manifests into your everyday reality. I like to think of masculine energy, and when I say masculine or feminine, I mean that as like everybody has that, no matter your gender or identity, how you identify. Masculine being yang energy, being the part of us that is like I might get these flip-flopped, but it's like the parasympathetic nervous system, I believe. That's like the doing energy, the part of us that's moving and action-oriented. Horizontal energy. And maybe there were times in your life when you felt like you had all of this wisdom internally and like a strong intuition, a strong connection to your inner world, but it was harder for you to take action in the physical world for whatever reason. And now you're finding ways to integrate the lessons that you learned in this relationship into your physical reality. And that could look so many different ways. It could look like knowing that, for one, taking the action to leave the relationship and standing by that. And then also maintaining boundaries in your other relationships. It could look like taking care of yourself, your body, and just like pouring love into you through the way that you feed yourself, the way that you move your body, the way that you choose to express yourself creatively. I think that you've integrated a lot of relationship wisdom, and it's like having a ripple effect in all of your relationships because of this relationship and the patterns that you've seen in past relationships. Yeah. That was cool. Okay, if this person were able to take accountability, what would they need to say? So this is kind of like that one version of the video that I was considering doing, but we're just doing one question. Death and 10 of Cups. Interesting. Okay, I have a feeling this is gonna be a heavy hitter. So, something that this person would need to say to you is that they made a lot of promises. They made a lot of projections and imaginary fantasy idealization of how things would look. And it could have been in small things like, oh yeah, like I'll do that thing with you this weekend, and then they didn't do it. And then that was happening over and over and over and over again. And maybe in the beginning you just wrote it off as like, oh, like they don't have enough energy, and like that's understandable. Like sometimes I make a promise and then I'm not able to keep it because like I didn't realize that I wasn't gonna feel well or whatever. And then you realize, oh, they're doing this all the time. They're making promises and they're using their words and they're emotionally creating this kind of like fantasy universe, and then their actions do not support it at all. Even with things like apologies, like if you would go to them and say, hey, like this hurt my feelings, or you said this was gonna happen and then it didn't, they might have deflected or had a way of spinning it around to put it back on you somehow. I think that you experienced a really big identity crisis in this relationship because of the way that this person reflected you back to you. And if this person could, they would need to take accountability for the fact that it had nothing to do with you and had everything to do with how they felt about themselves and how they felt threatened and like emasculated, but also just like that somehow the attention or the energy was not going to be directed towards them if you knew how wonderful you were, that you would leave them, that you would not need them. And they wanted to feel needed. They wanted to feel the attention belonged to them. That they were number one. weren't considering your emotional fulfillment, or their even really theirs. They couldn't because they weren't emotionally developed enough for that. There are probably a lot more things that they should take accountability for that they probably never did. And I may not have said those things. But the truth of it was that this person didn't show up for you in the ways that you needed, or in the ways that you showed up for them. Okay, how can you recollect your energy from this person without needing to contact them or see them? Two of Cups. This is making me think of balancing of your inner masculine and feminine energies. And being able to offer yourself the things that you felt you were craving in that relationship. So whether that be that you needed an apology that you never got, maybe you could offer yourself the apology, like write out what you wish that they would say to you. Maybe it's that you wish that they would have shown up for you more consistently and been a better friend and companion and confidant, that you could have trusted them more. So, in what ways can you be that person for yourself? Can you share more of your inner secrets with yourself? Maybe through some form of creation, writing in a journal, vocalizing those things out loud, or finding a trusted stuffy to tell them to. Yeah, I'm thinking of a specific example where, like, let's say you struggle with feeding yourself and you really wish that you had somebody in your life who was that person who would remind you to eat and like bring you food or offer you options or kind of like be that person for you. And is there a way that you could be both of those people? Be the one who struggles to eat and also be the one who is like the nurturing, supportive person coming in to offer. And say, hey, like, did you eat? What do you need? And maybe you're saying it out loud. Maybe you're saying it internally. Maybe you are just like creating your ideal form of a relationship. But with yourself. Yeah. Like I saw this TikTok the other day, and the guy goes into his girlfriend and he says to her, hey, have you eaten? And she looks at him and she's like, she scoffs at him. And he's like, what? And she scoffs again. And he says, why are you doing that? Like, you're so funny. And she says, well, have you offered me food yet today? And he said, no, this would be the first time. She's like, well, then you have your answer. And he's like, well, you gotta feed yourself sometimes without me offering you food. She's like, well, I've been in this room crafting since 7 a.m. and I'm fueled on lots of coffee and more spite than you. And he, says like, okay, like I'm gonna go get you some food, and when I come back, like I have a punishment for you, or like a punishment for you. And she's like, I win twice. And my point in sharing this is that I think that there's a way for you to create a dynamic with yourself where you can offer yourself that type of support. And maybe it feels like that nurturing, masculine support is not something that you have right now, or you wish that you could receive it from the outside. And that's totally valid. But I also think that you are better at it than you give yourself credit for. Okay. What boundary or truth allows you to carry this memory, the memory of the relationship, without it reopening the wound? So I think sometimes we will have nostalgic memories pop up or just kind of replay things. And it's okay for you to set boundaries or limits with yourself. Knight of Swords, which is very truth. I was gonna say truth seeking. You might have a bit of a tendency to like try to like dissect all the truth of this relationship and uncover who was right and who was wrong and who was at fault in every single moment, or and I don't even think that it's about you trying to place blame, and more so a sense of control or seeking closure or a sense of safety and stability, because the relationship was so destabilizing. And in those moments of the memories popping up and it being triggering, your brain is like, oh no, like, what am I supposed to do with this? So perhaps the boundary that you're setting could be just that you're allowing it to be there, you're allowing it to exist, but then you're just kind of directing it to a more neutral space, that you don't have to decipher all the clues or police the thought, but just not give it any more power than the fact that it exists. I just had two different things come up. One is this phrase that says, don't believe all the thoughts that you think. You don't have to believe all of them. And then something that I saw today that was about how certain systems are fed based on just the energy that we give them. And this one in particular was about patriarchy, that the reason that it exists and functions is because we give it energy, that we believe in it, or we believe we operate under its structures and stuff. And so the way to kill it is to starve it. And obviously, like, that's a hard thing to do when it's such a big beast and there are a lot of people feeding it. But I think that one thing that you are doing is allowing it to be there, but not giving it attention. And that's really how you starve it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of a couple examples that the person who created this video where I learned about this concept was saying, like, for example, if you are a woman and you start to feel like you need to apologize for your opinion or for, like, taking up space, and then you have the acknowledgement that that thought or feeling the pressure to do that is there, instead of like trying to squash it to make it go away, because that would still be feeding it, you just acknowledge it and then do nothing. And that is the way that you starve it. Okay, what part of this connection can I honor without reopening this connection? It's a bit redundant. What part of this connection can you honor without reopening it? I don't know how these get so upside down and backwards. just from me holding them. Maybe you feel like you don't have anything that you can honor about this relationship. That it was just a shit show from start to finish. Okay, the Two of Pentacles. But this card shows otherwise. That you are juggling a lot of different narratives and perspectives and emotions that are all tied up here. What specifically about this connection are you honoring? I think that in and of itself, the nuance of life is something that you can honor. And although in some ways that can be overwhelming and feel like a bit of a heavy burden to carry, that you see things that maybe other people don't, it's also become a great gift of yours. The empathy, the depth and wisdom that you've developed. Okay, we have Queen of Wands. She's been around lately. King of Wands. Yeah, another just balanced pair. And we have the Eight of Pentacles. Very studious. He looks very studious, this person. Deep in thought. So some things that you are particularly honoring in this connection without reopening it are actually that you have gained a lot more of that like inner union balance of your yin and yang, head and heart, mind, body, spirit connection, that you're able to integrate things from that like more like 5D deep contemplative introspective wisdom into your inner or your external reality. And it doesn't require another person to validate or make it happen. Like maybe there was a time in your life where you felt like that person, you needed that person for validation or to like whether this is conscious or not, give you a sense of identity or value, even if it was through that martyrdom that we talked about in the beginning of like, oh, I get my worth through giving myself to them to like through sacrificing myself. And now you're pulling that energy back and really pouring into yourself. This card is making me think of like you really doing a deep dive on who you are as a person, fully immersing yourself in who it is that you want to be on every level, from the type of food that you want to eat, the type of clothes you want to wear, where you would want to live, and the type of house you would want to live in. The little activities that you would want to be doing every day. Makes me think of something that my sister and I talked about when she went through a really brutal divorce. Her therapist said to her, you don't know your own wants and needs and preferences anymore. So what are those? Where would you like to go to dinner? What are your favorites? What type of fabric feels good on your body? What TV shows do you like? It just had the low power mode, so I don't know if that paused it. I don't think it did. What TV shows do you like? What movies? What drains your energy? What gives you more energy? I think that in some ways this connection is always going to exist, but you, like, again, you're not like trying to force it to go away. Or it's making me think of this video I saw about limerence, and the person was saying you don't have to just like try and force the person out of your mind. What you're gonna do is like write their name on a sticky note and put the sticky note on your desk. It can be there. You can acknowledge that it's there, and you can look over at it, and then you're gonna carry on with your day. And maybe the person isn't on your desk anymore. Maybe they are in an old filing cabinet, and then maybe that old filing cabinet eventually gets put into the basement, and every once in a while their file pops up, but the experiences that you had with them still inform a part of who you are and are integral to the process of you returning to yourself, you choosing yourself again. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks for being here, for showing up for yourself. I think that it can be really hard to sit with these types of emotions and allow them to fully marinate and process. And I think that that's a cool thing that you're doing for yourself. If you are interested in diving deeper on something that's going on for you personally, I would love to be a support to you, a companion on your journey. You can check out the links below. Love you so much. Thanks for being here. Bye.